Sharon Stone was once one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. In the 1990s, her name was everywhere, synonymous with glamour, controversy, and unforgettable performances. But behind the fame, her life took a dramatic turn that almost cost her everything. A devastating stroke, financial betrayal, and a collapse off her marriage forced her into years of obsolescence. Now at 66, she looks back and finally speaks about what really happened. The height of fame, at BY the mid-1990s, Sharon Stone had built a reputation that few actresses in Hollywood could rival. She was not just a movie star. She was a cultural phenomenon. After years of working her way through smaller roles, it was Paul Verhoeven's Basic Instinct in 1992 that changed everything. The thriller introduced the world to Catherine Tarrell, actor as intelligent as she was dangerous, and the performance catapulted Stone to international stardom. The now infamous interrogation scene became one of the most talked-about moments in cinema history, sparking debates on sexuality, power, and censorship. For Stone, it was both a triumph and a burden, an instant rise to the top, but one tied forever to a single provocative image. She did not stop there. In 1995, Martin Scorsese cast her in Casino opposite Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. As Ginger McKenna, Stone delivered a performance that proved she was more than just a sex symbol. She played a woman consumed by ambition, addiction, and self-destruction, earning rave reviews and an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Critics praised her range, noting how she could shift from icy control to emotional collapse in a heartbeat. With that role, she silenced doubters who believed her success was a one-time fluke. Sharon Stone had arrived as one of the defining actresses of her generation. Throughout the decade, she was everywhere. From Total Recall alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger to fashion campaigns, talk shows, and magazine covers, Stone became the embodiment of 1990s Hollywood glamour. She was invited to every premiere, every gala, every talk show couch. Designers lined up to dress her, and interviewers clamored to capture her sharp wit. By her own admission, she pretty much owned the 90s. In those years, she was often mentioned in the same breath as Princess Diana, women who defined modern stardom in different arenas, but shared the burden of unrelenting public fascination. But with fame came scrutiny. Reporters dissected her every word and gesture. Rumors circulated about her personal life, her relationships, and her on-set demands. Hollywood, while fascinated by her allure, was also quick to judge her choices. Stone was navigating an industry notorious for discarding actresses once they age out into new roles, and she knew that her time at the very top might be fleeting. The pressure to maintain her image, to balance artistry with marketability was constant. What the world saw was the dazzling exterior, the red carpets, the film premieres, the aura of control. What they did not see was the mounting pressure beneath, the relentless spotlight that allowed no mistakes. Sharon Stone was playing a role larger than any she had on screen, the role of Sharon Stone, movie star. And though she carried it with style, no one could have predicted how abruptly it would all come crashing down. The stroke that changed everything that in September 2001. Sharon Stone's life collapsed in an instant. At the peak of her fame, when her career seemed unstoppable, she suffered a massive stroke that nearly killed her. The stroke was followed by a cerebral hemorrhage that lasted 9 days. She later admitted that in those terrifying moments, she realized just how close death was. Doctors gave her little chance of survival, and when she finally made it through, the road ahead was far from easy. Stone spent a week in the intensive care unit and months in the hospital. She lost basic abilities most people take for granted: walking, talking, reading, even remembering. In interviews years later, she confessed she had to relearn everything from the beginning. For 2 years, she struggled just to piece her life back together, describing it as a humbling journey. The glamorous movie star the world thought it knew disappeared, replaced by a woman fighting for her life and her dignity. What made this ordeal even more devastating was that it struck at a time when her personal life was already fragile. Just a year earlier, she and her then-husband, journalist Phil Bronstein, had adopted their first son, Rowan. Suddenly, Stone found herself unable to care for him as she battled for her own recovery. The pressure only grew when her husband eventually left her, remarried, and sought custody of Ran, leaving Stone both physically weakened and emotionally broken. She later admitted she wasn't strong in an auto fight in court. Still in the hospital, suffering from internal bleeding and seizures, she had no way to defend herself. For a woman who once seemed untouchable on the screen, this was a moment of complete vulnerability. Sharon Stone, one of Hollywood's brightest stars, was now facing aggravate tragedy that nearly destroyed her. Financial betrayal and isolation, AS if the stroke and custody battle were not enough. Sharon Stone faced another crushing blow, betrayal from those she trusted most. While she was fighting for her life, nearly $18 million of her savings vanished. Personal possessions were transferred away from her, and she was left in a state of near financial ruin. For someone who had been one of the highest-paid actresses of the 1990s, the loss was staggering. In her own words, she went from being one of the hottest stars in the world to someone who was, in Hollywood's eyes, damaged goods. The financial devastation forced her to remortgage her home and rebuild from scratch. She later admitted in interviews that she lost everything, her money, her career momentum, and her sense of security that end 2019. She compared her downfall to collective grief felt when Princess Diana died. It was like Princess Diana and I were so famous, and then she died and I had a stroke, and we were forgotten. Hollywood, known for its ruthless pace, moved on without her. Roles dried up, offers stopped coming, and the actress who once commanded millions per film was now left on the outside. Casting directors doubted her abilities, uncertain whether she could handle the demands of major projects. After such a traumatic health crisis, Stone found herself isolated not just from the industry, but also from friends and colleagues who slowly disappeared during her hardest years. For 7 years, she fought to recover, not only physically, but emotionally and professionally. She described those years as some of the loneliest of her life. But within that isolation, she began to rebuild herself in small, steady ways. She adopted a new lifestyle, quitting alcohol, eating healthily, exercising daily, and embracing meditation. And in the midlife to pain, she discovered a deeper connection to her, faith and spirituality, turning to figures like the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu for guidance. Slowly, Sharon Stone began to transform, not into the star the world once knew, but into a survivor who had endured what most never could, motherhood and personal reinvention. When Sharon Stone speaks about her life after the stroke, one theme always rises above the rest: motherhood. After enduring 9 miscarriages and a devastating custody battle over her first son, Ran, she refused to give up her dream of having a family. In 2005, she adopted her second son, Lear, followed by her youngest, Quinn. In 2006, becoming a mother to 3 boys gave her a sense of purpose at a time when her career and health had been stripped away. In interviews, she has admitted that motherhood didn't come easily, but her rewards outweighed every struggle at the 2017 luncheon in Los Angeles. Her children surprised her with a Mother of the Year award. On stage, she reflected that adopting her boys gave her more love, help, friendship, and kindness than at any other time in my life. For someone who once lived under the unrelenting gaze of Hollywood, home became her sanctuary, and her sons became the source of her strength. Motherhood also reshaped how she approached her career. Instead of off-casing fame or big box office roles, she worked just enough to support her family and prioritized being present in their lives. She proudly kept them out of the limelight, shielding them from the public pressures she knew all too well. Yet on rare occasions, like her 59th birthday in 2017, or when her son Ren walked the Golden Globes red carpet with her in 2018, she allowed glimpses of the bond they shared. These years also marked her personal reinvention. Stone transformed her struggles into resilience, redefining herself not as a seductress from Basic Instinct, but as a mother, a survivor, and an activist. She no longer needed to prove her worth through fame. Instead, she found validation in raising her children and using her voice for causes that mattered deeply to her. Activism, career shifts, and speaking out. Even as her acting career slowed, Sharon Stone discovered a different stage: activism. Since 1995, she has served as the global campaign chair of MFAR, the American Foundation for AIDS Research. What began as a 3-year commitment turned into a lifelong mission. She renewed her pledge in 1998, vowing to continue until a safe and effective AIDS vaccine was found. Over the decades, she has raised millions of dollars, hosted auctions at Venice Film Festival, and in 2013 received the Peace Summit Award for her humanitarian work. One spontaneous fundraiser, Milan, in 2015, resulted in enough pledges to build 28 schools in Africa, a moment that reflected both her influence and her determination to make a difference. Stone also became a powerful voice for women in Hollywood. Long before the Me Too movement gained momentum, she spoke openly about the inequities she faced. In 2015, she revealed that after Basic Instinct made her a global star, studios still refused to pay her fairly. She recalled sitting at her kitchen table with her manager in tears as she realized how little value the industry placed on her compared to her male co-stars. Later in conversations with Jane Fonda and Alfred Woodard, she addressed the double standards of aging in Hollywood and the impossible pressures to remain desirable. Despite the setbacks, Stone continued to find meaningful roles. She starred as a president in TNT's Agent X, a project she also executive produced. In 2017, she returned with Steven Soderbergh's innovative series Mosaic, playing Olivia Lake, a famished children's author entangled in a murder mystery. Ryan Murphy later cast her in Ratchet as Lena Osgood, a fabulously wealthy and eccentric villain, a role written specifically for her. Each performance reminded audiences that beyond the scandals and the setbacks, Sharon Stone remained a formidable talent capable of commanding the screen. Her activism and career revival ran parallel to another milestone, the release of her 2021 memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice. In it, Stone reclaimed her narrative, writing with honesty about her stroke, her career, her battles in Hollywood, and the infamous Basic Instinct scene that defined and haunted her. For the first time, she revealed that she had not consented to the explicit nature of that scene, only realizing the truth when she saw the final cut in a room filled with men. Since I'm the one with the vagina inquest eye on, she wrote bluntly. Let me say the other point of view art was not just a confession, but a declaration that she would no longer remain silent. Return to the spotlight at 66.by the time Sharon Stone reached her mid-60s, many assumed her Hollywood story had already been written. But she was not finished. In 2023, she began to speak more openly about her past, her stroke, her financial losses, and the years she spent rebuilding. And in 2024, she returned to the big screen with a new kind of role, Landina, an unhinged crime boss in Nobody 2, the sequel to Bob Odenkirk's unlikely assassin saga. For Stone, it was more than a performance. It was a declaration that she could still command attention, still embody power, and still surprise an audience that had underestimated her resilience. The Los Angeles premiere in August 2024. All three of her sons, Rand, Lear, and Quinn, stood proudly at her side. For Stone, this was the ultimate victory. Not the applause of critics, but the visible proof that she had built the family she once feared she would never have. Soon after, she confirmed another major project, a role in the third season of HBO's Euphoria, proof that she continues to adapt to new generations of storytelling.